DESIblitz.com
ਓਏ ਅੱਖਾਂ ਤੇਰੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਗੱਭਰੂ ਦਾ ਦਿਲ ਲੁੱਟਿਆ ਨੀ ਦਿਲ ਲੁੱਟਿਆ ਏ ਸੁਰਮਾ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਓ ਕੀਤੀ ਵਾਰਦਾਤ ਪਿੱਛੋਂ ਛੱਡੇ ਨਾ ਸਬੂਤ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਪੀਰ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਓ ਯਾਰਾਂ ਦਾ ਸੀ ਯਾਰ ਬੱਲੀਏ ਨੀ ਤੂੰ ਹੁਸਨਾ ਦਾ ਜਾਦੂ ਕਰਿਆ.
So Raj, thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you very much.
Could you start off by telling us a little bit about your acting journey and how that started, please?
So I wasn't kind of planning to be a TV presenter, but that came along the way. So I did TV presenting, radio presenting, but I always wanted to become an actor. So I was always doing acting on the side as well as doing my politics degree. And then when that finished and I had the chance to work with Satinder Sartaaj for Udaarian, then straight away it just kind of blew off and I started doing acting.
That's a bit of a complex situation here. You got politics on one side, acting on the other side. How did you work those two out? What was the strategy behind that?
I think in a Desi household, you need to have a proper job or a proper degree. So my parents always wanted me to do something in relation to politics, and I was always quite intrigued by the whole politics side of things. So I kind of did politics first. It was just like a backup, really.
How hard would you say, or how easy would you say it is for a young Asian female to get into the industry, the film industry in particular?
I don't think it's the easiest thing I've done. I would say that there's definitely easier things I've done in life. But I think with the right kind of steps, right kind of support, you can definitely get to places that you want to be. You just got to be slow and patient. I feel like there could be more support from England and other people here, because I feel like if we work together and if we kind of support one another, it'll be easier to actually get into the Punjabi industry.
So do you feel there's more acceptance from India rather than the UK then?
Yeah, I feel like actually the Punjabi film industry is more welcoming to girls that can speak Punjabi or that have a diverse kind of culture. But whereas like the people in the UK, I think there's more
work to be done.
negativity. Yeah.
ਕਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਰੋਟੀਆਂ ਪਕਾਉਣ ਲੱਗੇ
What would you say then are the biggest challenges for yourself in terms of the role and getting into a character? How do you go about doing that? Do you prepare beforehand, after? Do you have to get yourself into that mindset for weeks in advance? How does that work?
Because I'm not a theatre artist, so I'm not allowed, or I'm not saying that theatre is loud, but it's a very different kind of way of practicing the art. But for me, I think it's always been reading the script and kind of getting into the mindset. I feel like you got to connect with the thoughts of the character first, and you got to stop thinking like Raj and think like the character. So that's where sometimes it gets very difficult, but you have to put things aside, what's happening in your personal life, to one side, and then just think like the character more than anything.
And is it difficult to get into that Punjabi mindset, and obviously the language itself? I know you can speak Punjabi really, really well. Did you have to learn that, or was it something that came from family?
So I think in Punjabi, so obviously it gets really hard to, give like quick answers in English or in Punjabi, because I think in English, so it's like the first instant I'll be thinking and answering in English. So I have to kind of translate in my mind and then go into Punjabi. So that's definitely a difficult thing. I've got my head around it now, but because I've spoken Punjabi to my parents and we have this rule, I've said it several times before, that in my household we don't speak English, we only speak Punjabi, because my parents want us to speak Punjabi. It's easier and they can understand us. We can communicate a little better.
So Punjabi was your mother tongue?
Yes.
In terms of auditions and scheduling, how does that work with your family and your structure? Did you have to do a lot of auditions before you got into the industry?
Yes, I've done several auditions. I've been rejected for many roles. Even for Punjabi films, actually. I've auditioned a lot for Punjabi. You'd be surprised to see how many people actually do auditions for Punjabi films as well. But I guess it's a learning thing, and you learn, and every audition teaches you something. It teaches you how to be patient, for sure.
Did you have a lot of help and support along the way, especially for those youngsters who were trying to come up into the industry? What kind of support mechanisms did you have to help you?
I think the biggest support mechanism is Punjab being at your comfort zone. Like, it's being a Punjabi, that's our motherland, isn't it? So it's a bit easier to kind of feel at home over there, even despite being away from home. So that's definitely helped me quite a lot. That's the biggest support. In terms of people, I don't think people support you a lot. You have to have your own back, and you have to like pull yourself together, and you have to be strong. Like, for any young people or people watching me here wanting to get into the industry, they have to be strong enough and have thick skin, basically.
Did you already have connections in the industry?
Because I was working with the entertainment industry quite closely, I was always meeting directors, writers, producers. So I had like my, the rough kind of connections, maybe with actors or singers, or I was brushing up on some of the connections. But until and unless I got into the films and I started working on ground, that's when I started really making the connections. I don't think you make real connections ever.
Tell us about Jind Mai, and what was it like, working as Sabrina in that film?
Jind Mai is my favorite film after K3G, I think. But it was a life-changing experience for sure. It teaches you about love, how to be resilient, because the character of Sabrina is way too sacrificing compared to who I am. So obviously it has taught me a lot in terms of that and getting into that mindset, but also in terms of acting, just being on set and how the environment of a set works, how patient you have to be on set is crazy, because there's times where you're not shooting for the entire day, but you're on set the entire day, and then your shot is at 7 o'clock in the night, for instance. So it definitely teaches you a lot, and you get a lot of camera sense as well, I guess. Yeah.
So what was it like behind the scenes with the crew and with the rest of your fellow actors and actresses?
I was working alongside Sonam, and Sonam is one of the most professional actors that there is in Punjabi film industry. And she's super kind and very loving. Even Ajay Sarkaria, who was opposite me, Gurnam was in the film as well, and they were all very loving, very supportive. I think there are few that are very, very caring and do support one another in the industry as well.
And what were the funny stories that happened behind the scenes that we didn't get to see on set?
There was a lot, to be honest. I can't think of one.
Can you pick out a couple that will?
I do remember, I got bullied on set. I think I can say that because I was the new one out of all of them. So I think Sonam, Ajay, and our director Samir, even Gurnam, they were having fun, basically kind of irritating me and telling me that this is how you're supposed to work. Or maybe if I was a minute late or something, I'd get bashed about it the entire day, that you're a junior, you should be on set on time before all of us, or you should be saying hello to us in a certain way. So there was a lot of fun moments from the set, for sure.
And I guess, being on time, Indian timing, I guess you should have been on time every single time, right?
I should have, but I think sometimes on sets you do end up running late, but I try to be on time, or I think I was before anyone else anyway, so.
Right. And tell us about Mitra the Na Chalda. How was that? Tell us about the set and your role and the story behind that.
I mean, I was in India for Jinmahi's promotion, and during the tour, I had a call from Pankaj, who was the director of the film, and got a call from Z Studios, and they wanted to have me in the film. And for me, that was like a massive thing because Gippy was in the film, and we had a massive cast, a massive film, and it was my first film fully in India, which was going to be shot in Punjab, in Chandigarh, around places in Punjab. So it was just a beautiful experience. I think it definitely kind of broke that barrier of me just being a girl from the UK trying to break in, and it kind of gave people an insight to, okay, she can play a very desi girl as well, because in Mitra Danachal, the character of Karam is completely like a desi girl from the Pind who goes into Chandigarh to become a nurse. And even to get into that character, it took me a while because I couldn't understand the mindset. I couldn't understand why girls would do that. So I had to interact with quite a lot of girls from Chandigarh, but it was a lovely experience, and I think working with Gippy was also a good experience.
Good morning.
हाँ दुध मक्खना नाल पलियां ने बई मस्त बहारा गेड़ी रूट ते घुमदियां कुड़ियां बन डारा रौनक मेले इथों दे सीने ते छा गए चिड़ियां दा चंबा छड्ड के चंडीगढ़.
Were there any scenes that you tried to do that you couldn't get your head around and you couldn't get into properly, or were there any scenes that you refused to do as part of that?
No, I think there was never a scene that I refused. I think as a professional actor, you should always give, surrender to your directors, surrender to your scripts, and surrender to the project, because that's, I think, the most professional thing that you can do as an actor. But at the same time, I think there was some scenes that really opened my eyes and really kind of like hit me. I think there was one scene where a young girl who's playing a 16-year-old girl in the film, she gets touched inappropriately, because our film was about that, and she is crying in one of the operation theaters, and I had to go in and I had to scream like, did something happen to you? And that was a very intense moment. It was a very intense scene, and I think I was crying for a good 2 minutes after the scene, because I couldn't believe that girls actually go through that in India. And because we've never seen something like this here, so it's just, I mean, it happens, but it never happens so, in your face. So that was definitely eye-opening, because speaking to everybody on crew, like, it was very normal for them. They were like, this happens in India or around, South Asia quite a lot.
And obviously you've got the whole Me Too campaign, and then obviously the casting couch, and we know in India that's quite prolific. But then also, the voiceless, the voiceless women in India that historically haven't been able to have a voice and talk about these things. I guess there's a whole movement around that coming through now.
Yeah, I think obviously India has become a bit more accepting, and women are growing in India for sure. They have grown a voice over the years as well, and all these movements that are happening in India have helped women to come to the front and actually voice their opinions, voice like the oppression that they go through, which is a great thing. And I think a film like Mitra Danachal is also something that is just, it's an effort that maybe the Punjabi film industry, which is a growing industry at the end of the day, and the fact that they're trying to give the oppressed a voice is a really good thing. And I'm really grateful that I was part of a film like that in my early career. So I guess it's a blessing in disguise.
Tell us about working with Gippy. What was that like? A massive icon like Gippy.
So Gippy and I have met many times before the film, and I was a fan. I was a massive fan. I'm still a fan, but working with him definitely changes a lot of things, because you have to kind of take that starstruck thing out of you and then just work with him professionally. But he is super professional, and you know, we've seen so much of him that finally working with him, you see why he's where he's at. So I got to learn a lot, and we got a lot of time to speak about so many things. He's extremely funny, so even his character used to stutter in the film. So he had a really bad stutter in the film, and there would be scenes where it was a very serious scene, but he would have to stutter and we'd just burst out laughing. So we'd have to say cut, and like the directors would get really irritated. But we had a blast shooting the film. Unfortunately, he couldn't be there during our promotions, but we were still connected for like, you know, Instagram and stuff, or like, you know, on calls. And he always looks out for new talent, which is an amazing thing, because not a lot of people do that. So yeah.
Are these the kind of roles that you're looking forward to working in more, or what kind of projects would you say interest you the most?
You know, I've always been like fond of like thriller films and like action films. So that's my kind of like, you know, ultimate characters that I want to play. But I think in the near future, I would love to play an Anjali from K3G, because I don't know, I think I've grown up becoming that Anjali. And I was even saying this morning to my mom. I was like, that was a character in a film, but I think that character has just like gotten into me so much that now I'm just Anjali in real life. So I would love to play that character in a film, but something a bit more intense. I think something that's a bit more impactful, that can maybe teach something in one way or another. I don't think it needs to be like directly teaching or like preaching to the audience. Nobody wants to watch anything like that, where everybody's smart enough to make their own decisions. But I feel like a character that leaves some sort of impact, and where you can kind of think about your choices that you make in life would be great.
Something around the social justice.
Yeah, maybe social justice, or something a bit more, I say intense. You know, I loved Gangubai. I loved what Alia did in that film, and she's not directly preaching at you, but the character teaches you so much, because there's so much grey in there. Like, there's no black and white, it's just a grey character. And I think it's so important to have characters like that, where you can kind of just make your own judgment whether you like the character or not.
And what about working in the British UK film scene, or even Hollywood, for instance? So do you have aspirations of that?
Yes, for sure. I think that's the ultimate goal as well. Like I said, thriller or action. That I think the way it's made in the Western films, British films, and you know, this is home for me. So this is my comfort zone. Like, speaking in English is a lot easier for me compared to like Punjabi or thinking in Punjabi. I think acting in English has always been a bit convenient for me, if that's the right word. But so I would love to eventually be considered in like a good series or a big Hollywood film.
How did you feel winning the PEFA 2023 award? Tell us about that.
So I got the Limelight Star of the Year or something. I don't remember the exact name.
Because you came in as an outsider, right, in terms of that?
Yeah, so it was really shocking, because I'm an outsider. Like, for Punjab, I'm an outsider. A girl from the UK that randomly pops up in, you know, a big film in Punjab. So it was a bit like shocking to me when I first got it, and when I got the call, got the invite. I wasn't even expecting an award, because they didn't really tell me that they were going to award me, which is because I have worked for other media channels and who have hosted like, you know, award nights and stuff. So I kind of know how it works, but I just got it on the night, and I was like not really looking forward to it, I guess. But it was nice to get something like that. It was really nice to see how accepting people were, and how supportive like some of the artists were. Like Jazzy B was there, and I have to give a shout out to him, because he was so supportive. He was literally shouting in the crowd by himself, and I just saw him and I was like, that's how you know he's like someone from the UK.
And it's great to have that support from fellow UK artists as well. So how, talking about Jazzy and obviously the Punjabi music scene and also the Punjabi film scene, how important do you feel Punjabi is to you and your acting career?
Punjabi is like obviously where we come from. Punjab is where we come from. So in the end, everything has to be about our culture, about our roots. If our parents have been engraving it from day one, and like, you know, they tell us to say Sat Sri Akal at home before we even end up going to school and learning how to say hello, there's a reason for it. And I think we need to take the legacy forward. We need to make sure that we're teaching our kids. I don't want Punjabi or Punjabi to ever get out of like my kids, for instance. And I see a lot of like the younger generation, they don't even know how to speak Punjabi properly, and it makes me really sad. So for me, it's a very important part of my career. I think even if I start doing like, you know, the Western films, the English films, or, you know, some of the Hollywood stuff, I will always want to represent Punjab and Punjabi somewhere down the line.
ਚਿੜੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਚੰਬਾ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਚੰਡੀਗੜ੍ਹ ਆ ਗਏ ਚਿੜੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਚੰਬਾ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਚੰਡੀਗੜ੍ਹ ਆ ਗਏ ਟੌਪ ਟੌਪ ਦੇ ਟੌਪ ਪਾਏ ਨੇ ਟੌਪ ਟੌਪ ਦੀਆਂ ਜੀਨਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਵੀ ਦਿਲ ਖੇਤਾਂ ਵਰਗੇ ਖੁੱਲੀਆਂ
So what would you say to other females or youngsters who are coming into the scene and want to follow in your footsteps?
I think just be smart, be courageous, because you need to be really streetwise when you come here, but don't just fall for the traps. Certainly the females, a lot of dreams will be shown to you. That doesn't mean all the dreams are going to come true. So you just got to hold your ground, and you got to believe in what you think your dreams are, and you got to believe in where you want to get to in your life, and just hold on to that. Don't like fall for the traps, and just be smart. Yeah.
Tell us about your favorite desi khana.
My desi khana. You know, as bad and as weird as this is gonna sound, I love karele. Like, I just love, it's my favorite Indian food. And I know not a lot of people like them because they think they're really like bitter, but I kind of like it. I think it's the best food that I've tried.
Do you cook them as well?
No, I don't know how to cook. I don't know how to cook. I'm the last person that will know how to cook.
Which 5 actors would you say you'd like to have around your dinner table?
Can they be from any industry?
Any industry, and why? Why them?
A Leonardo DiCaprio, because he's one of the finest actors. A Tom Hanks, because, and if ever, like, you know, this is impossible, but like if an Irfan Khan could come back to life and he could sit on a dinner table with me, that would be amazing, because I don't even understand what he did, because it was that great. So that's like 3 finest actors, and I need a Priyanka Chopra there because I love her. And I think someone from Punjab, if I would love to have somebody from Punjab, it would have to be an Amrinder Gill, because he's amazing.
And what would you cook on that night?
I don't know how to cook, so I'd probably just like order it online.
Okay. What do you love most about Punjab?
The smell, as like loads of people say that they don't like the smell, but as soon as you enter Punjab, and this is Punjab, this is not Delhi, when like you get into the pinned village, that's when you know you're in Punjab, and it's just one of the best feelings ever. The smell, that humidity is actually something that I absolutely crave when I'm here, so I love it.
Raj, it's been a pleasure having you with us here today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time.